All right, yeah, let's go back a few steps here on this video. I bought the boat 2017. We sailed a bit. We did the Commodore sail by. We had friends come and visit on the boat. It became a bit of a party boat. It was a bit more of a party than an actual sailing exercise. But eventually, what happened is the Port Owen Society or Port Owen Pomo decided that no more living aboard because people were having parties until 6 in the morning outside the clubhouse, and yeah, it became a little bit annoying to all the residents that lived around the actual harbour. So things kind of got rough that we couldn't just hang out anymore. I mean, also the problem was that I had people staying on the boat when I wasn't there. They left the shore power on. The shore power also reacted to the metal structure because there was a short somewhere in the boat. So the hull started rusting, which I didn't know. That's the story we'll come back to. In the meantime, lots happened. It's been a couple of years now. I met an ex-girlfriend of mine from 28 years ago, Nicole, and she came sailing with me on my course. And we hit it off, and one thing led to another. We got back together and moved up to my little small holding in Barrydale, my eco-sustainable hideout, where we built a life together. I built a barn, this old barn. We built some cottages, and I've been living here for the last 3 years with her, happily. And the boat's taken a bit of a second place in my life. Now, another part of this story, which is very interesting, is that meeting up with Nicole again, an ex-girlfriend from many years before, we'd bumped into each other numerous times over the years, and we always connected very well. And after a little trip to go and see Ralph on the boat whilst I was doing my course, she'd actually got hold of me because she had done furniture restoration with Ralph for many years, learned how to do that, and she thought, well, she'll look up me and Ralph, and she'll get to see both of us and reconnect. And she came with me to go and do my sailing course, and yeah, we went for dinner afterwards, and the rest is history. She moved up to Barrydale, and the only thing was that she looked very interested in sailing. She was out there on the boat with me and Ralph behind the helm, sailing away. Little did I know down the line that she doesn't like sailing and she doesn't like the water. She doesn't like the sea. She's scared of drowning. So I fell in love with a boat, and then I fell in love with a woman. And what happens? The woman comes first. So the boat took a second place in my life, and I've paid dearly for that in one way. But in the other way, I've got a wonderful woman by my side, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. But I now have to face up to the reality that I have a boat, which is my other woman. I have two women in my life. And the boat itself is now needing to be given some love and attention, and we have to focus on getting her back in the sea and off onto the high seas and oceans and adventures. And maybe not with Nicole, because I don't know. She said she might come with if the boat's up to scratch and is back in order to be able to sail, not in the shape it's in. So fair enough. So in one way or the other, I have to get the boat fixed so I can get Nicole to come sailing with me. So whilst I was here for the last 3 years with Nicole, we decided to build a little sustainable business, which is building cabins and caravans that we rent out. And I built this big barn, which was my man cave, where I could have my studio, my photographic studio, and teach photography. I do wet plate photography, which is a lovely exercise. It's a 120-year-old camera that I use to make wet plate pictures. So the dream was to do courses teaching wet plate photography and having accommodation for people. And that's been preoccupying my life for the last couple of years. But it's been a great adventure. Building a barn is a bigger thing than I'd really expected to do. But what a great exercise of actually building something that you have in your head and managing to learn how to do everything about building. All right, so with the boat standing for the last 2 or 3 years now, what happens is if your anodes on your boat aren't up to scratch, your electrolysis that could happen because you have bad shore power and it affects the metal structure of the boat, the rust doesn't get the rust that accumulates should be neutralized by the anodes, but I think my anodes had worn down. I hadn't kept on top of it. Every year or so you're meant to take your boat out, check the anodes, check the structure, and I kind of let that lapse, unfortunately, because I had Nicole, my girlfriend, and myself living out here in the country, and it's about 4 hours drive from where we stay in the country out to the coast on the other side, on the east coast and west coast. And yeah, you know, we didn't get there very often. I think every couple of months I'd take a drive out there. In the meantime, every 2 years you're meant to take your boat out, have it checked, get the hull sprayed down, recoat it, make it waterproof, and make sure that it's sound. And I'd put aside a little bit of money for this job. I thought about 10-15 grand would be max. You know, it was 2 days out, 3 grand a day on the hard. You know, the getting the spray down, the paint, and new anodes. So I did some research and I found a great guy called Keith from Keyway, and I tried to make a booking. Now Keith is the only guy in the area that does all the big trawlers. Now Velddrif is in the middle of the fishing district where everybody goes fishing from that Saldanha, Keyway, Velddrif area, and he was just fully booked, and I kept begging him, Keith, please give us a gap. I need to get my boat out. It's been more than 2 years. This is going on 2.5 years. And I think, you know, it might need some work. So I said to him, give me at least a week, you know, heads up on getting this boat out. I waited and waited. Nothing. A year passed. Nothing happened. And I begged him, and eventually he said, look, there's an opportunity. There's a week coming up. I've got a gap. Come up. So I dropped everything, and we raced off to Keyway, and yeah, you'll see what happens in that episode. It wasn't quite what we expected, to say the least. Yeah, wait and see.